Playing tonight, Chernov, we have.
Harry Gutman.
Playing Petrovin.
Chris Short.
Playing Prince Bunine.
Marty Goldberg.
That was your Empress. Liz.
Oh. Yes, me. Sorry, Liz.
Playing Varia.
I didn't.
Taylor.
Playing Sergey.
Bernie.
Playing Anna.
Caitlin Mitchell.
Playing Counselor Dravinitz.
Thomas Gruber.
Playing the sleigh driver.
Joseph Cirillo.
Playing the charwoman.
Andy Robinson.
Playing Dr. Serensky.
David Moseder.
Playing Baroness Livenbaum.
Shirajan.
And playing Prince Paul will be Gareth Lawson. Anastasia, Act 1. Boris Chernov is discovered seated at the typewriter, tapping out some accounts. Chernov is a small, in early middle age, with thinning hair and pince-nez perched on his nose. He is a Russian business type, having been a banker in pre-revolutionary days. Bell rings off, Chernov turns alertly. Then as bell rings again, he rises and goes to the panel door that leads to the basement.
Varia.
Yes, coming.
He's not at home?
No, but your friend is inside.
Oh, this house is cold. You need a stove. Maybe I'd better draw one on the wall. One of our big Russian pechkas. Ah! Chernov, greetings!
Good evening.
She tells me the prince is not at home?
No, I've been waiting for half an hour. I've spent the time drawing up a summary of our accounts. It's not a pleasant picture. The prince has been horribly extravagant since he has moved here.
Surely a prince is entitled to live in a house of this size?
It isn't the house, it's what goes on in it. The champagne suppers. This.
Oh, that. He's so Russian.
I'm a Russian too, but I live in a one room in a cheap hotel.
Without women's hats.
Yes, look at all these crates filled with expensive furnishings.
He's used to living with beautiful things. His villa in the Crimea was a delight. I hear the Soviets have turned it into an orphan asylum.
To which the prince probably contributed 1 or 2 orphans.
Do you know why he sent for us to come here tonight?
No, he merely said he wanted us here at 10 o'clock. It's now almost 11.
He loves to be mysterious. Perhaps he's come on some clue as to the whereabouts of that girl.
I followed up a dozen such clues. Do you think there ever was a girl who told those hospital nurses she was the Tsar's daughter?
Are you suggesting His Excellency lied to us? His partners?
I'm only suggesting that lying is a thing in which His Excellency excels.
His story was so convincing, and it came at just the time that rumors of Anastasia's miraculous escape were flying about the Russian colony.
The timing of her appearance was, as you say, excellent. Her disappearance, after no one but the prince had seen her, was not quite so fortunate. Ah, there he is.
Yeah, look after the lady. Give her whatever she wants.
A woman again.
Good evening, comrades. If that term doesn't grate too unpleasantly on your white Russian ears.
Good evening, Excellency.
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, but I've had an adventure. Not what we usually mean by that expression, but still, I will admit, a woman.
Petrovin and I are wondering why you sent for us.
Do you feel a strange warmth at the back of your neck? It may be the hot breath of disaster. Gentlemen, we have run into trouble.
Trouble? What sort of trouble?
Some of our subscribers have got together. They formed a committee with that busybody, Counselor Divinovitz, head. They've ordered me to meet them.
What did you say to them?
Nothing. I didn't go. It's clear enough what they were going to demand.
That we produce the Grand Duchess Anastasia.
And immediately, too.
Oh, I've been expecting this to happen.
Nah, don't forget. It's more than 3 months since we sent out our appeals for help.
Once the girl disappeared, we should have given the thing up, sent our investors back their money.
If they are really closing in on us, we had better divide up what's left and clear out of Berlin.
No, I don't believe we'd get very far.
But if we stay here, we'll end up in prison.
A German prison.
A Russian one is bad enough.
Russians are sloppy and inefficient even as barbarians. Those Germans use their convicts for medical experiments.
Is that true? Oh, God. I need a drink.
Over here.
Why did I ever get myself into this? Why? Why?
You went into it for the same reason I did. You needed the money.
Want some?
My gallstones. Conspiracy to defraud. What's the penalty? Does anybody know?
Don't despair, my friends. Perhaps we are not beaten yet.
Not beaten. We're called on to produce a murdered princess.
What would you say to a miracle? It appears the appropriate moment for one.
What do you mean?
I wanted you to digest my bad news before telling you my good. I have found her, gentlemen. At the 11th hour, I have found her.
Found her? Found who?
Not your Anna Brun.
Yes, the same Anna Broom I talked with that evening in the hospital in Dalsdorf. The name Anna Broom, who told one of the nuns she was the daughter of Nicholas II.
Where did you find her?
I was sure I had caught a glimpse of her the other day when I was driving through the Rimstrasse. The woman turned into a side street, and before I had a chance to tell Sergei to follow her, she had disappeared. Tonight, under the spell of this threat, I went back there. I made inquiries, promised a reward to anyone who would help me find her, and ran her down at last. Where do you think?
Where?
On one of the bridges that crossed the Landwehr Canal. I had a notion she might be thinking of throwing herself into it.
Why?
Ill, out of work, half-starved.
Did she explain why she ran away from the hospital after you promised to help her find her family?
Well, I'm afraid she didn't trust me. I don't think she does now.
And what is your opinion now that you have seen her again? Of her claim, I mean.
Precisely what it was before. She is no more the Tsar's daughter than I am one of the murdered Grand Dukes.
If she's as unconvincing as that, what makes you think Drivenitz and his friends will accept her?
Oh, it's not for nothing the hospital nuns had faith in her story. You see, there are certain surprising features.
Has she anything to back it up with? Any papers or family heirlooms?
Nothing. And she's not backing it up.
What do you mean?
She now says that the story she told the nuns was a lot of nonsense, that she isn't the Tsar's daughter.
But, good God, if she denies it herself, what hope?
She'll come back to it. She's a bit unbalanced. The story today is that she doesn't know who she is, and I dare say that's true.
An amnesiac?
That certainly, and at times a prey to all sorts of bizarre fancies. But in her vague state, she's all the more ready to receive impressions. I'll make her play our little charade.
And if she can't play it?
If she makes a mess of it, we can still point a finger at her. She's the guilty one. We are only her poor innocent dupes whom she deceived with her lies.
Yes. That way she might save us from a charge of fraud.
Yeah.
And this time are we to be taken to see the lady?
Of course you're going to see her. What do you say? Shall we have her in now?
Do you mean to say she's here?
In the servants' hall with Sergei standing guard. I told her to get her some food. She seemed badly in need of it. Sergei! Sergei! Bring the lady in here. Well, let me caution you. Don't speak to her in Russian. She says she doesn't understand it.
What? But that makes it impossible.
It's a lie. She has a definite Slavic accent. Don't worry, I'll break her down.
Be careful. I remember hearing tales of your cigarette ends. But Berlin isn't Russia.
Mm. If I should fail, we'll have to picture it as some Freudian quirk, a defensive reaction born of a long undercover journey.
You think they'll swallow that?
Go on in.
That was me.
Oh,
Yes.
Go on
Yeah.
in.
Yes, come in, Fräulein. I want you to meet my friends. Take a seat. A glass of vodka.
Yes, thank you.
These are the gentlemen I spoke of. I am putting you in their hands. They're going to examine you.
Examine? Are they doctors?
No. You won't have to undress. Just allow them to look at you.
No, is that all? May I smoke?
Oh, help yourself. When you and I talked just now, I promised you employment. My associates wish to determine how well you fit our requirements.
To begin with, the eyes.
The eyes are right.
Where did you see the eyes of the other?
I was at Notre Dame de Kazan in 1917 when we had been driven back to Hindenburg. She came into the church to pray with her mother, and they each placed a candle before the big icon. I saw two little candle flames reflected in her eyes.
Blue eyes?
Blue-gray, with the two candle flames like a pair of golden dots. And just now, when I held the match for this one's cigarette, there was the same thing exactly. Very few eyes will pick up a reflection like that. I am an artist. I know what I am talking about.
What about the mouth?
All wrong. A drawn, taut mouth. Hers smiled easily. Even at that solemn moment, she smiled. Her teeth were beautifully even, white and shiny. I was so close I could smell the scent she was wearing.
I hope it was nicer than this one's.
Now, if that's all that's troubling you, we can easily perfume her. And Piotr, let me suggest that a mouth that smiled readily might not smile much after what your other one would have gone through.
What about the height? She looks too tall for me.
And the last time she reviewed our regiment as I held her stirrup to mount, I noticed that the brim of her kolpak was the level of my eyes.
Stand up.
What did you say?
I said stand up.
Of course, she's 8 years older than the other was when she died.
Ah, and I must remind you again that those 8 years would not have been what the first 16 were.
Go over there. I want to see how you walk. They were taught to walk carrying a book on their heads. Another thing we will have to tell our investors she has somehow forgotten.
Where is the resemblance that so impressed you? I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
After all those odd descriptions we gave them, the Tsar's noble bearing, her mother's matchless complexion, and now we're to show them this.
And how have they seen the original? A white-clad figure in a rapidly moving carriage? Or one of a family group in a flowered stand at Krasnio? Oh yes, they saw plenty of her in the newspapers.
What of the royal servants? There's still a few of them about.
They'll see her through their tears. Good, faithful souls that they are.
And the family.
Most serious, certainly. But if it isn't as if there were a mother or father to be dealt with, or a brother and sisters. True, there's quite a wealth of uncles, aunts, cousins, despite the Bolsheviks and their execution squads. But they will refer secretly to their photographs, and as she will resemble those photographs.
This woman?
Yes, I am sure. By the time we are finished, she'll be like, very like. Oh, it won't be the gay, pink-cheeked girl who danced the holes of columns at the very last ball ever held there. Let us say, she'll be as like as a dead body to a living person.
If we could present her to them lying in her coffin, it would be easier. No questions, no answers, no mistakes.
A tempting idea, but we're forgetting the money.
You surely don't believe you'll be able to convince the bankers?
There's a chance. If we could get the family to accept her, the bankers would find it difficult to question their endorsement.
When you said she would serve as a scapegoat, you were talking sense. Anything beyond that is hopeless.
I don't agree. Anyway, let us try for the castle in the air before settling for the cabin in the swamp.
I admit you knew the original better than we did, but I have studied the photographs in those albums we brought from the Grand Duke's lady friend, and I can't...
Get out the albums. They're still here, aren't they?
I don't need to. I know them by heart. In the early ones, she wore her hair down. Then there's one of her and her sister Olga dancing on the deck of a yacht. In the more recent ones, she appears heavier than her sisters with stronger cheekbones, more Russian looking.
Yes. And then, at least for some of us, there is the final one. The one photographed by our imaginations.
What are you talking about?
In the cellar, where the murders were committed, she's standing up, her head and the hands she had raised to shield it, pierced with bullets.
Look at her hands.
What?
I said, look at her hands.
You don't mean...
I told you there was a special feature, something rather surprising.
Come here. I said, come here.
Open your hands.
You'll find they are long and well formed, with a scar in the middle, the hands of a crucified being.
Yes, it's true.
And that isn't quite all. Look at the head, gentlemen. The left temple, a long, narrow depression, path of a bullet. Of course, it may be something more prosaic, a childhood accident, a rather bad one that caused a fracture.
Oh, what is this scar? Is it from a bullet? Tell us.
I don't remember.
You don't remember how you got a wound like that? Of course you do.
There are many things I have forgotten.
You're lying. What are you going to say if they demand to see her immediately?
Yes, it will take time to teach her.
Time? I should think so. Weeks, months, years.
I shall say that we've had her moved to a sanatorium in Switzerland, which specializes in psychopathic amnesia.
Look!
Yes, it draws her like a magnet.
Fraulein, turn around. Stand against the wall. Hold out your arms like this. Yes, she fits the figure exactly. I drew it from the records kept by the dressmaker.
She's the right height, certainly. The crown might be resting on her head.
Let me go!
What's the matter with you? Are you an epileptic?
Come here. There's nothing holding you, Anna. You know who it is? It is yourself, Princess.
Don't call me princess!
You told one of the nuns that you were Anastasia Nikolaevna, the daughter of the Tsar.
I was sick. When you're sick, you get crazy ideas.
Naturally, it is a thing you wish kept secret. You feel that if it were widely known, your life might be in danger.
I made it up, I tell you. They asked me questions. Who are you? Where do you come from? Who was your father? Questions, questions. So I told them I was a royal princess. Lies, lies. It isn't true.
Stop it. Be quiet.
Who's that? Who would be coming at this hour?
Drivenitz. It's Drivenitz. I want to see Prince Bonin. Here I am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed off here, right? Yes, I'm sorry. I want to see Prince Bonin.
It's Drivenitz.
Quick, Janov, take her downstairs.
Come.
The cellar? That's where they were killed.
Quick, Theater, get rid of that photograph. Yes? Who is it?
Counselor, oh, sorry, that's the servant.
Sergey.
So,
Sergey?
Counselor Drivenitz, Excellency.
I'll show him in. Good evening, Counselor. Welcome to my somewhat disordered abode. I've only recently moved in here.
So it appears you needed more room, I suppose, for your account books and correspondence. The Anastasia enterprise is prospering.
Enterprise?
Is this one of your partners?
My friend, Petrovin, the artist.
Artist, eh? Then I take it that is some of your work?
Yes, we are planning to have it reproduced for propaganda purposes.
I notice the face is missing. Seems the clothes sat for you, but not their owner.
Her Imperial Highness has not been well enough to pose.
It is evident that your fortunes have improved, Prince. It was not so long ago that you were driving a taxi. Now I see you riding about in a handsome car and giving expensive luncheon parties at the Adlon.
I am conducting certain negotiations in the interest of the Grand Duchess. Negotiations that will ultimately be of importance to you and the other investors.
The investors, as you call them, have reached the end of their patience. Some of us have asked you from time to time to produce evidence that the Princess Anastasia really exists and is in your care. We have been put off with vague replies and equally vague photographs.
I have explained that the princess is still very ill. Her doctors insist on isolation, rest, absolute quiet.
My committee wishes to talk with her doctors.
I am sorry, but Her Highness is in a private sanitarium in Switzerland.
I, for one, am ready to make the journey immediately.
My friends and I have just been discussing the advisability of bringing the Grand Duchess here to Berlin.
That will, of course, take a little time.
Boris Chernov, formerly a banker.
A private establishment on the Nevsky Prospect, next door to the Cafe Ostro.
Anna.
Let me out! I want to go!
Sit there and keep quiet.
What is that?
Some ladies we are entertaining. One of them had a glass too many.
You'd better go and see about it, Piotr.
Yes, certainly. If you'll excuse me.
Perhaps I should explain that these two gentlemen who aided in the rescue of the princess.
A rescue? From whom? And from where?
Bucharest.
Bucharest? Really?
Yes, she was in hiding, afraid to tell anyone who she was, afraid even that she was Russian. But Yurovsky's execution squad had stamped her identification. She has a scar of a bullet wound along the left side of her head, and another bullet, or possibly that same one, has pierced the palm of both hands.
And why, may I ask, did you not come to the Russian club this afternoon and tell us all this?
Because I found the peremptory tone in which you summoned me insulting.
That is good reason for us to adopt such a tone. We are convinced that we are being made the victims of a hoax.
You think all I have been telling you is a pack of lies?
I think we were fools ever to have believed your story. The assassinations took place in 1918. This is 1926. Even a return from the dead should not take that long.
Resurrections are a severe test of faith. There was a doubter named Thomas.
And if this is a conspiracy, as I strongly suspect you have done an unforgivable thing, Bonin, by exploiting the patriotism of our exiled comrades, trading on their sacred loyalties.
Sacred loyalties? Rubbish, my dear counselor. It's the money you investors are after.
That's a lie.
The share out of letter promised of the Tsar's millions.
If the Princess Anastasia really existed, she could command not merely our fortunes, but our lives.
I don't remember you yet rallying to your Tsar's support. You were out of Russia the first day of the revolution.
That settled it. I am going straight to the police.
Go ahead. And a fine bunch of fools you'll look when the Grand Duchess herself appears in court. Yes, I shall have brought in on a stretcher. She herself will demand it.
Very well, Prince. I will give you one last chance. You can have 1 week in which to produce the Grand Duchess. If you fail to do so, we shall issue a warrant for your arrest. Yours and your 2 companions.
Sergei, see the gentleman out.
1 week?
Makes you sweat, doesn't it? It's easy to see, Charnov, that you've never really been shot at. It's only at such a time that the air has the same taste it had at our birth. Well, we're at one of those moments now. So take a deep breath.
God, what are you going to do?
Vara, bring the girl up here.
Yes, Excellency.
It's impossible. We couldn't even make her sufficiently convincing to say she deceived us.
We can make her convincing. We must.
Not in 1 week.
That may not be as bad as it sounds. At that first interview, she will be in bed with a nurse and doctor in attendance.
Doctor?
I know a man who can safely be trusted. He'll tell them she is not to be pilloried with questions. For that occasion, her wounds will be sufficient evidence.
And after that?
Before the presentation to the shareholders, I shall demand 2 months for convalescence. That cough of hers will help. We'll say she's consumptive.
We'll have to see she doesn't lose it.
Plenty of cigarettes will take care of that.
She hasn't agreed to do it yet.
We'll make her agree. Ah, come in. You see, you had no need to get so upset, Princess.
I told you not to call me princess.
Oh, why won't you admit it? You didn't mind the sisters knowing.
That little nun? Yeah, she believed it. Her eyes got big like saucers, and in the evening she brought me some special things to eat. An orange and some grapes.
That's the least she could do for a royal highness.
I could have told her other stories, just as romantic, of the time I went to the land of the eternal ice with the 3 professors, the old one and the 2 young ones.
When was that?
When? I don't remember. There was a great glacier, and we had to chip the ice very carefully, and then the blocks were melted by the professors. And in them were plants and strange creatures that had lived on the earth ages and ages ago. We saw a butterfly that came alive and flew about in the sun. A butterfly that had lived for 1 million years, then died in 1 day.
Romantic indeed.
In the other hospital, where I stayed for so long, they used to beg me to tell them my adventures. There was the blowing up of the train with the soldiers. We lay on the grass near the mouth of the tunnel and waited. But we were too close to where the mine was planted, and when the train struck it, the pieces of metal fell all about us. The man beside me was killed, and I was struck in my head and on my hands. That is how I got these scars, you see.
I thought you couldn't remember.
I can't. Not always. Things seem to come and go in the mists.
I see you have been quite a reader, Fräulein. But I also see something else. You are an actress. And an actress is what we want.
You wish me to pretend that the story I told the little nun is true?
Exactly. You found out that it paid to tell her. You got an orange and some grapes. Tell it for us, and you will get more. Far, far more.
That little nun was simple and trusting.
Yes, these people you are to see and talk to will not be as easy to fool as your little nun. You will have to meet friends and members of the family.
The family? They won't accept me. They will remember the princess as she was. They will say I am lying.
Even if they think you are lying, they may still accept you.
Why? Why should they?
You might well be the key that would unlock doors for them. The doors of vaults. The Tsar deposited money aboard in an effort to provide for his children 10 million pounds, a fortune which would now belong to his sole surviving heir.
And they would take me in, pretend that they loved me for money? Is that what they are like?
Do you really think the Romanovs might endorse her?
Some of them, yes, if it were managed tactfully.
Dreams crack-brained fancies.
Pay no attention. It's his gallstones talking. Tell me, who would carry the most weight?
The most weight? No question about that. The old icon.
The old icon?
That is what we used to call her. Maria Fredovina, the Tsar's mother.
People say she went mad.
She happens to be here in Berlin, visiting her grandnephew, Paul.
That doesn't sound as if she were too crazy.
Perhaps not too crazy, but definitely difficult. I knew her in the old days. A Tartar with a tongue like a whiplash.
What about him?
Him who? Who are you talking about?
The prince you say she is visiting, Prince Paul.
I wonder which way he would jump. He was her future husband.
Anastasia's?
Yes, there'd been no announcement of the betrothal, but everyone at court took it as an accepted fact. The two had been playmates since childhood, second cousins.
Surely this Prince Paul would be the hardest to convince. He was in love with the girl. Or was he?
Royalty. Who could say? It was a great match for him. Aside from any question of rank, the Tsar was the richest man in the world. Yes. The more I consider it, Paul is poor and pleasure-loving. That big fortune that's waiting in the banks would count a lot with him.
But surely the only way he could get the money... My God. You don't think he'd be willing to marry that?
It's a lot of money, remember?
No!
What do you mean, no?
I want to go!
Go where?
Anywhere! Back to the nuns!
Stop!
I knew it. You brought me here to kill me. Kill me, then it doesn't matter!
Put that pistol away, you fool!
You can't let her go now?
She is not going anywhere. Listen, we're not Bolsheviks who are trying to trap you.
I can't do what you ask. It's impossible!
It isn't, I tell you. And there's enough likeness for you to carry it off. All you have to do is put yourself in our hands. We'll teach you all you need to know.
Don't you want to be a royal princess and wear a coronet and have people kneel and kiss your hand?
I think I must still be in the asylum with the woman who believes she is an angel and the three who sit crouched and covered all day because they have not yet been born.
Yes. Perhaps you are right. Here you are with the mad painter, the mad general, and the mad banker.
Only the banker is not quite as mad as the others. You expect her to learn the names of half a dozen palaces, each with its servants and officials, the regiments who guarded them, tutors, titled friends, court procedure. Quite a task for a woman with a bad memory.
She will naturally make mistakes, but the lapse of time will excuse her. That and her head wound.
I doubt if she even knows how to behave among people of our class.
Our class? Oh, I like that. You and the Grand Dukes, I suppose.
At least I belong to that class parasitically.
A flea that has found its way under a coronated shirt. Perfect description. I must remember that.
You saw her hands. They are not those of a peasant.
We'll find out just how hard it will be to teach her.
Please, I'm so tired. I can't argue. Please let me go.
Where would you go? The canal?
Perhaps.
You have lived through a great deal. Why die now?
Why live? There's only a flicker of difference.
But the flicker is on the side of life. I saw that as you stood on the bridge looking in the water.
You need food.
And rest in a comfortable bed, warm clothes, shelter.
Yes, I am an animal like everyone else.
So it is agreed. You put yourself in our hands.
What if this princess, the real one, should suddenly appear?
You needn't worry. She's dead. I have first-hand information.
She was murdered at Ekaterinburg with her entire family. And the doctor, a governess, A valet and a cook. 11 in all.
That is the official story, but there is a rumor you escaped with two brothers named Tchaikovsky, who were members of your guard.
No doubt she has heard that story.
Some of it.
You must know it in complete detail. These two guards entered the shed where the murdered 11 real. They detected a movement and dragged you from the heap of the dead. Pay attention. This is the story you will have to tell. They hid you in a farm cart under the straw.
In a farm cart.
Yes, they trekked across southern Siberia.
You had jewels sewn in your skirt. They used them to get money.
They moved on south, avoiding the towns and cities, making their way to, where was it, Peter?
Balta.
Did you hear that?
Balta.
Good. And from there across the Romanian border to Bucharest.
Bucharest, yes.
Bucharest is where we found you. We took you to Switzerland, to a sanitarium. You will have to remember that too. Now tell me, who was it rescued you the night of the assassination?
Two brothers named Tchaikovsky.
Ah, and they took you across the Romanian border at what place?
Balta. And from there to Bucharest, where you found me in hiding.
There. What have you got to say to that, my dear high-class flea?
Oh, this is nothing. There are endless details, names, relationships.
It will mean work, certainly, but she has shown us that she can learn.
This might be a good time to introduce her to her family.
Yes. Bring one of those albums of photographs.
This is the family that I will have to meet. Who are they?
The most important are your second cousin, once removed, Prince Paul, known also by his German title, Haroldenberg, and your grandmother, the Dowager Empress, Maria Fyodorovna.
My grandmother, will I meet her?
If we are lucky. That will be, I admit, your most trying experience, but it will not take place until after weeks of lessons.
This is the best one.
Now, you must remember that you love your family, you more than any of the children.
I loved my family.
And so you should. From your ancestors, you derive your grandeur. From the murdered dead, their tragic dignity. And from the survivors, their distinction. Look, here is the first one. Your mother, Queen Alexandra. Why do you close your eyes? Is your eyesight weak?
No, go on.
The Grand Duke Sergius, your Uncle Serge. I once heard him say that the way to recognize a lady was by her laugh. He was an authority on laughs and boasted that even when drunk or in the pitch dark, he could recognize his wife's laugh and so could avoid meeting her. And so this is your Uncle Michael, who used to dance for the court as beautifully as one of the Diaghilev stars.
You won't meet any of them. They were shot by a Bolshevik firing squad.
Yes, they were men who loved life. You should pity them. This is the picture of the whole family on the deck of your father's yacht.
The Standard.
You know that name, do you?
It is on the life preserver there by her side.
So it is. He is one of you standing on the bridge of what we used to call the Chinese island.
She's waving to somebody.
Aunts and uncles and aunts. There's quite a series of them. Say their names after me. The Grand Duchess Marie Pavlovna, Aunt Michin.
Aunt Michin.
The Duchess of Cumberland, Aunt Thaya.
Aunt Thyra.
The Queen of Norway, Uncle Hans.
Uncle Hans.
The Queen of Norway, Aunt Swan.
Aunt Swan.
The old King of England, Uncle Bertie.
Uncle Bertie.
And how much of all that can she repeat?
I'm not asking her to repeat any. We'll go over the list every day. Now look, we'll close the book on this one. You in uniform as the colonel of Kapiski's regiment.
Blue skirt, red dolman, cold pack of black fur.
Dolman?
Did I freeze?
Sergei,
Oh, it is you. You want some?
His Excellency is out.
All the afternoon. Where's the girl?
Her Imperial Highness is having a bit of a rest. She hasn't done so well today.
Oh, you mean old Chancellor Clausewitz?
He wouldn't accept her, would he?
No, just as I was leading him out, he turned around and called back, "Tell me, who are you?"
What did she do?
Stared straight at him and gave him no answer.
She's clever, all right.
What are you doing going around without your coat?
I didn't want to get it dirty.
He fancies himself in that royal livery.
You know, we've got to keep up appearances. There are still some witnesses out there.
People are of no importance.
How many?
3. The dressmaker had to go.
Sonia Rykov.
Yes, that's the one. She will be back tomorrow.
Tell them Her Highness will see them in a little while.
Yes, sir.
And don't forget to say Her Highness.
Well, Piotr, how's it going?
Ups and downs. The peasants, most of them accept her without question.
And the illiterates, of course. They're always the loyal ones. It was Alexander II with those damned schools of his that made the Russian Revolution.
What's the matter? Your gallstones?
It's a question of tension. They haven't been really quiet since the day of that bedside visit of Drivnitz and his pack of skeptics.
Those investors were not quite so skeptical after seeing her wounds.
No, but next time she meets them, there won't be a doctor on hand to forbid her talking.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Excellency.
I've got news. We're about to receive a distinguished visitor.
Oh?
Yes, Maria Fyodorovna, the old icon herself.
No! The Queen Mother here?
It's official. The prince sent for me to ask if Her Highness was now well enough for us to bring her to Heroldsburg to meet the Empress. I thought we weren't ready for that, not yet, so I said no.
Quite right, but...
The prince said, in that case, Her Majesty will visit Her Highness under my escort. Of course, there was nothing I could reply to that except that I was sure Her Highness would be overjoyed.
Were those his exact words? Did he actually say Her Highness?
He did indeed. No talk of the unknown woman or the alleged daughter of the Tsar, the sort of phrases he used before he met her.
It sounds as if she'd convinced him.
I think she has, and I don't wonder. She's amazing. What she's managed to learn in 1 month.
5 weeks.
Her ability at picking out and memorizing petty details is certainly extraordinary.
Yes, if that is what it is.
What on earth do you mean?
Well, it seems to me at times that it passes the extraordinary and becomes the uncanny.
Oh, rubbish. She's made mistakes, plenty of them. Then we've been going over the books of data.
Oh, yes, the name of some functionary or whether some event took place at Sarkoi or the Winter Palace. The sort of mistakes we would all make about things that happened to us 10 or 12 years ago.
Oh, come, Piotr. You surely aren't suggesting.
You're sure Anastasia was killed?
Of course she was killed. I had the whole story from Yurovsky's head bodyguard before we strung him up. To be sure, Anastasia fainted when Yurovsky shot her father, and so the first volley of the execution squad didn't kill her. She woke up to find 10 corpses lying all about her. If she hadn't screamed, she might have stood a chance.
The bodies were tossed down a deserted mine shaft. You don't suppose Yurovsky didn't count them, do you?
All the same, the tale of her escape has been insisted on by people who claimed to have first-hand information.
Russian peasants. You know their love of the miraculous.
It's a choice of miracles, it seems to me.
With all this perfection you see in her, let me remind you of one glaring failure. There must be an interpreter present if she talks to a witness who can only speak Russian.
True. Yes, that is true.
That won't matter if only the old icon accepts her. Everything depends on that.
What time will they be here?
About 4.
Less than an hour. I'd better send away for the remaining witnesses, and we'll give her a last-minute drilling on one of the albums.
Wait. That would only confuse her mind and make her nervous. No. We'll have to trust her. We'll have to trust to her instinct. Of course, it's 10 years since I've seen the Empress. It's not likely her own memory is what it was. She's nearly 80.
Pardon, Excellency. There is a phone call from a newspaper.
Which one?
The Nachtgaube.
They called before asking for an interview.
Stay here. You had better talk to them, Chernov.
Why do you say that?
Be careful. Make a healthy excuse. Don't antagonize them. You're not to be trusted with these newspaper people. Giving them her photograph to publish was an act of an idiot.
You said you wanted the publicity?
Pardon, Excellency. Her Highness is ready to receive the witnesses.
Sergei!
Who are they?
A sleigh driver, a shabby-looking doctor, and some sort of charwoman. No one who matters.
You explained why Her Highness prefers to conduct these interviews in German?
Yes, Excellency. I told them it was so that the records of what she said could be read by her legal advisors.
Good.
One at a time, Sergei. The woman first.
The old man and the woman are friends. They ask if they may come in together.
Very well.
Tell Her Highness we are ready.
Come this way.
Now, my good people, Her Royal Highness is about to receive you. You are to talk to her and to examine her attentively. After the audience, you will be taken to the Chief Secretary, who will register your opinion in writing and obtain your signature.
Her Imperial Highness Anastasia Nikolaevna.
Yes, it is you, little mother. I know you as my dog knows me. You are like 4 flowers, you and your sisters, and for each of you there was a different scent.
Dear Vich, do you remember that Christmas at Gatchina when I had sprained my ankle on the ice and you had to carry me from your sleigh in your arms?
Yes, it is your voice. I would know it anywhere.
I remember how you used to kiss each of your horses good morning. It always made me laugh. And I remember the big blue silk net that was spread over their backs to keep the snow they kicked up from falling on the people who rode in the sleigh.
Yes, yes, little mother. I see you have forgotten those old days.
My sister Olga took a photograph of us, you and me. I have it in an album. Would you like to see it?
I am blind, gracious one.
I didn't know.
A double cataract, but I do not mind. It was a beautiful world that I saw in those old days. I like to pretend I am still living in it.
You would be glad of your eyes today. Our princess is beautiful.
You have knelt to me long enough, Wasevich. It was not like that at Gatchina. Then we threw snowballs at each other. You always threw them so that they should not hit me.
Oh, you loved the snow. I called you Snow Princess, and you said you liked the name.
I'm really enjoying myself.
Place chairs for my visitors.
I must inform your highness that other visitors are coming. Prince Paul and the Empress Mother.
She's coming here?
Yes.
I don't know if I will be able to face her.
Why not?
I am not sure that I am well enough. Must it be today?
Yes, it must. I will send these peasants away. Then you can lie down and rest.
No. They have been waiting a long time. Bring the chairs! Sit down. What is your name?
Anastasia, Highness.
And have you come here all the way from Russia, Anucha? You're on mute.
No, Highness. I have worked here in the colony since 1921.
You know me, do you, Anuchka?
Of course I know you, little mother.
Where was it that I met you? Peterhof, Livadia, or was it Sala during the war?
At Teenberg, little mother.
You saw me there. But nobody was allowed in the town except the soldiers.
I lived there. They sent me into that accursed house with the 2 wooden fences about it, with the colored windows and the darkened panes. The soldiers said to me, "You are to wash the floorboards." So I went in.
And you saw me in that house?
Sitting in a half-dark room, all alone. I had my pail, my cloths, and my brushes. Yorovsky said, that assassin, he gave me a push and said, "Hurry." And I fell on my knees on the threshold of the room as one does in church. The vile one thought it was in order to scrub the floor, but you knew it was for you that I knelt.
For me?
You smiled and gave me a good wish, but then you forgot I was there. Your thoughts were in the clouds like wounded birds.
I do remember. I remember the swish of your cloth as you wiped the floor. It reminded me of the frou-frou of the women's trains as they walked about the polished floors of the Winter Palace. And I thought of the wonderful balls that were given there, the great staircase, and on every step a huntsman in green, his gloved hand on a gilt cutlass.
One of the soldiers I had traced on the floor a sketch of Rasputin all naked. I washed it out, and as I did so, the sun must have come out, for a little beam came through the shutters, and there on the floor was your shadow. I stooped and kissed it. And afterward came that dreadful day when the shots were heard, and the sun darkened so that a July evening seemed like the blackest hour in winter. But even then, at that time, it was whispered that there was one who was not dead. And as the months passed and we gathered around our stoves, the story was told of the princess who was carried away in the night in her bloodstained dress, heavy, with all the diamonds and pearls sewn into it.
Enough. Her highness must close the audience. You were brought here to attest that this is indeed Anastasia Nikolaevna. You both agree?
In Ekaterinburg, there is a deep wood of pine trees, and in it, at night, shadows are seen moving, dressed all in silver and lovely as the moon. 4 daughters. They say 4, but I know there can only be 3.
Bless your highness.
Bless your highness. God's blessing on you forever.
Goodbye, Anuchka. Anuchka of Ekaterinburg.
Thank heaven that's over. I'm dying for a cigarette.
How dare you? How dare you light a cigarette in my presence without my permission?
I beg your highness's pardon. If you'll excuse me, I'll... Strange.
Good. Most effective. And does that mean that your illusion has returned? Or is it self-hypnotism?
A cigarette, please.
Have I your highness's permission? Anyhow, you have managed to capture the right tone. If you're as good as the old empress as you were with those 2 servants, the prize is in sight. The prince will be here too. I am sure he is only waiting for the empress's acknowledgement to remind you that he was your girlhood fiancé.
And I am to marry him?
Yeah. May sound overly ambitious.
And I am to have children brought into the world at your command? And must they be his? Or will you allow me the liberty of my famous ancestress and let me choose my Orlos or my Potemkins?
Don't speak to me in that mocking tone, or you will get your face slapped. Your success with these musics has gone to your head. If you are as clever, it is with my cleverness. The prince is a romantic, a sentimentalist. He will persuade himself he is in love with you, if that is so important.
So important? Why should it be? Can a poor outcast accept everything?
Outcast, certainly. But I have come to realize something that was not evident at our first meeting. You are well educated and refined. Who are you? From what family do you come?
My father was a toy maker. My mother his assistant who painted the faces of his dolls. Could you ask a better ancestry for a puppet?
Wait here, I'll see. Pardon, Excellency, was what of the last witness?
Who is it?
The doctor. He has been waiting a long time.
I am sure the princess will see me.
Oh, you can't come in here.
I'm sorry, that was, well, okay. You can't come in here.
She saw the others.
Michael!
Let him come in. Her Highness can grant you only a brief interview. She is expecting some important visitors, and so is preoccupied.
Yes, so I see.
What is your name?
Michael Serensky. I am a doctor.
Where was it you met Her Highness?
In the hospital.
One that she visited with her mother during the war?
Oh, one in which we were both patients.
Where was this?
In Bucharest. We used to sit in the big sunroom together and talk. Her head had been hurt in a factory explosion. With all those bandages, it was impossible to tell whether it was pretty or ugly. But I liked her voice. We became great friends.
He's here to make trouble.
Yes, so I begin to realize. You're a Bolshevik agent.
They've sent you to upset Her Highness's claim.
You know she's not a highness as well as I do.
Keep your eyes on me, you Bolshevik dog. I'm speaking to you.
I am not a Bolshevik, and I am not their emissary.
Who gave you a passport to come here? Who gave you the money?
I have money of my own. Anya helped me in my laboratory. She's clever and, except for her delusion about her family, quite sane.
Is it true what this man is saying? Do you know him?
Of course she knows me. Aren't you going to speak to me, Anya? It's almost a year since we last saw each other. Since you...
Never mind that. Get out of here.
No, let him talk if he wants to. But it will do no good.
I have been lonely since you left, Anya.
I came here for a purpose, Michael, but it is no use to tell you.
Have you forgotten that evening in the field of sunflowers where you hid and I caught you? And you lay with your head on one of the broken flowers like a pillow, and the moon shone on your face. I see a royal gesture of dismissal.
You shouldn't be here, Michael. I don't need you.
I think you do. You are in dangerous hands.
Who's that?
You should be ashamed, Prince Bunin. You think you can bring a dream to life and set it to work for you like a genie out of a bottle?
That's enough.
Stir up your memory, Anya. Think how we worked together. The way you helped me with the slides and the tissues. Your hands were more skillful than mine. You were saving lives.
Didn't you hear me? Enough, I said. I'll call my servants and have them kick you down the steps.
Be careful. I have her police papers, papers that establish her identity as Anya Bronin.
Let me see them.
Oh, no, I haven't them on me, my dear prince. I am not quite as trusting as that.
Police papers are nothing. They are being forged every day.
Sergei!
You need summon no reinforcements. I am going.
Then don't come back or you will be sorry.
I was for a year in the hands of the OGPU. They broke my health and my reason for a time. After that, what any man can do to me is nothing. Goodbye, Anya. If you should want me, I'm at a small hotel called the Tempelhof.
Is that true? Has he got your police papers? I'd better be sure Sergei doesn't manhandle him.
So now it's Anya. It seems revolutions make strange bedfellows. Only it wasn't a bed. A field of sunflowers, the raw earth, like animals.
You sound shocked. Don't tell me your moral sense is offended.
You who pretend to be so aloof and disdainful.
Why are you concerned?
Were you this cripple's mistress?
And if I were, is that any business of yours?
So that's your answer. Well, at least your lover has cleared the air for us. We know where we stand.
Is that a warning that I had better keep my bedroom door locked?
You may take it as a suggestion that you leave it open.
You flatter yourself, Prince Bunine. I've no doubt that there are women who find you quite devastating. I happen not to be one of them.
A challenge? We will see. It must be amusing to give you some lessons in refined lovemaking.
Is this quite the moment? The Empress is coming. Remember? The success or failure of your enterprise will be in my hands.
True. It can wait. Now you had better concentrate on the questions you will have to answer. Don't forget you were born in Peterhof, but your childhood memories will be mostly of Lavidia, the palace by the Black Sea. If she mentions the money, pretend you have no interest in it, and you're not listening. And most important,
For a long time, he was my doctor, and afterward, we were friends. He has explained to Prince Bunine about the crazy family that come to me at times. You see, my head was injured in a factory explosion.
Does she mean that? Is it the truth?
it's about her. How was anyone to know?
Her Majesty's car is here.
Here already? Quick, Peter. Go and tell Anna she must hurry.
Does she know what she is to wear?
Yes, that is all arranged.
Her Imperial Majesty.
The royal livery. So they are wasting no time, are they? And Arkadievich. I thought you were dead. Don't they shoot traitors nowadays?
Let your Majesty be reassured. The tradition has been observed. I was sentenced to be shot twice.
By whom? The whites or the reds?
By both.
And you're still here. But there, I remember you were always a man who, when you came to a parting of the ways, took both ways.
It seems to me that our cause has had enough martyrs, Your Majesty. What it has chiefly lacked are men with practical minds who know how to gauge an opportunity and seize it when it appears.
As you are doing here. The effrontery of using the name of the Romanov to create a business with shares and salaried officers and a promise of handsome dividends. My compliments, Bunine. You're a scoundrel on the grand scale.
Oh, Your Majesty.
Keep quiet.
Either that, or possibly the loyal servitor of a princess too long denied her rightful heritage.
You have certainly come some distance since those days when you were an aide-de-camp to my elder son, gambling to the small hours with the Grand Duke and winning 10,000 rubles a night, so I'm told, with suspicious regularity.
It's not necessary to cheat opponents who pour their brandy out in goblets, Your Majesty.
I remember one of your mistresses from the Marinska Theater. You went in for actresses even in those days. She was French, if I remember rightly, and had eyes like a letter of mourning. She created a scandal in your rooms, and my husband called you to account.
Alas, Your Majesty, the woman on stage and behaved an unfortunate reversal.
She conveniently disappeared so that you were free to tell whatever story you liked. In those days, you made women disappear, and now you make them appear. Quite a talented magician.
The Grand Duchess Anastasia asked Your Majesty to grant her an interview at which you might judge, better than any living, the truth of a claim. She had relied, as had we, on your coming with an open mind.
My dear Munain, I have already been shown 2 Tatyanas, an Alexei and a Marie. I am a little wary of these spectral Romanovs. But I'm not here to spoil your little game, though. I'm not here to help it either. I've come, if you must know, because my nephew has plagued me into it.
I am grateful to His Highness.
But I warn you, Bunain, don't try my patience too far. I have lost everything that I've ever loved. My husband, both my sons, my 5 grandchildren, my home, my position, my country. I have nothing left but my memories. Don't lay your hands on those. They are sacred. Now you may go.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
I see you hesitate. Perhaps you are afraid to let your artist perform without a prompter.
Not at all. I will go and tell Her Highness you are ready to receive her. I think Your Majesty is about to meet with some surprises.
Poisonous insect.
But he's attractive, so masterful and ruthless. A blow or a kiss, or perhaps both.
I find your voluptuous fantasies quite disgusting. To a woman of your age, sex should mean nothing but gender.
Did he really murder the lady with the spaniel's eyes?
I didn't say he murdered her. She conveniently disappeared. Paul?
Where? In here?
Ah, here's Paul.
You're here before me. I'm so sorry. I had to borrow a car. It's a nuisance not having one of your own.
Yes, I'm afraid your ancestors hadn't foreseen a time in which royalty might have to work for a living.
Hasn't anyone received you?
Oh, yes. Prince Bunain was here. It is when I meet a man like him that I understand why the revolution happened.
You hate him for having been Kerensky's satellite. But there are plenty who made that mistake. And believe me, the Bunain of 1917 and the Bunain of today are 2 different men.
You think people change? How naive you are. My husband used to say, if you want to reform a man, start with his grandfather.
Well, anyway, don't quarrel with the dinner because you don't like the cook.
Run along, Levenbaum. We're discussing family matters.
I'm not to see her?
You'd only insist on giving me your opinion, and you're never right about anything. Go and find this Bunain you hanker after. You may get the blow, but I'll be surprised if he gives you the kiss.
Does Anastasia know you're here?
I believe the lady has been notified.
Please, I beg of you, don't make up your mind until you meet her.
They've gone out of their way to put my back up. Look at that photograph. The eagles on the frame, the servants' liveries.
Yes, I agree, it's all overdone, but...
If your Anastasia were genuine, she'd revolt against it.
Do try and keep an open mind.
You're gullible, Paul. You always were. You had reached your teens before you stopped believing in Santa Claus.
I'm not as easy as you think. The first time I came here, it was in no mood of eager expectancy. I was all prepared to denounce and expose. I had heard about Bunain and his company and thought the whole thing a disgraceful fraud.
And then you came, and then came your conversion from prosecutor to disciple, quite in the manner of that other Paul, the sainted one.
I was on the point of leaving. I had been shown in here, and while I sat waiting, I thought of my last visit to Sarkois, Selo. I kissed them all goodbye. I was going off to war, and the emperor went with me to the door. We crossed the marble parade hall, the hall of Catherine II, the portrait gallery, the black Cossacks hall. Behind us, everything entered into the shadows, and I felt it was there, among the shadows. They should remain in their fairy palace with the black eagles and the mighty ancestors looking down from the walls.
It's too long.
Oh, I didn't recognize her immediately. I hadn't made enough allowance for the years, for all that she had gone through.
She answered your questions, I suppose? What do you expect? Bunain has taught her her lessons.
Bunain doesn't know everything.
There are many sources he can draw on here in Berlin. Old friends, old servants, ghosts from our royal past.
It isn't only what she knows, and it isn't the evidence of her wounds. I've told you about those. No, it's more an atmosphere she creates, a quiet assurance, a fineness that you feel is above question.
You sound as if you've fallen in love with her.
I think perhaps I have.
Oh, you're quite mad. But I suppose it's only to be expected. After your father died, your mother, or Anastasia, wanted to marry the Pope.
She was always religiously inclined.
So, you're in love with this sleeping beauty.
Shouldn't I be? Don't forget, she was to have been my wife. Why, we actually went through a ceremony of our own devising. A child betrothal. She was 12 and I was 14. It was held on the Chinese island.
And does she recollect it clearly?
She hasn't mentioned it. It seems to be one of her blank spots.
She doesn't remember a thing like that. And yet you still believe her. Preposterous.
You're wrong. I've spoken to the doctors. To Lessing, for one. There's no greater authority. He says some degree of amnesia would be almost inevitable. The head wound was a serious one. Bunain tells me that at times the poor dear has...
Bunain! The girl means nothing to him or his friends. She is simply a means of getting their hands on millions my son deposited in foreign banks.
To buy munitions that came too late.
Oh, as usual, the Tsar was like a man riding backward on a train. He never saw anything until he was past it.
Shouldn't we too give some thought to those millions? Money means power. One day a crisis may arise in Russia, and they will want us back.
The Romanovs? Don't delude yourself. The ants are in power, the red ants. Someday ants of a different color may take their place, but they will still be ants.
Ants can be crushed.
Oh, you think so? Once when I went with my husband to Samara, we saw one of those ant armies on the march. It was a terrifying sight. Animals came screaming from the desert, covered with the creatures and dying as they ran. They dug trenches. My husband helped. He was like that. And they flooded the trenches with water. But the ants never stopped. They flung themselves in, millions upon millions, so that their floating carcasses might form a bridge for the hordes that followed them. Alexander had said that the Tsar of Russia must not run away from an army of ants. But we ran. We scrambled abroad our train and fled. I learned then that we live in a world in which numbers must be respected.
Perhaps you're right. But the blood of those poor, murdered, innocent cries out for justice. Those sweet girls, that little boy.
Leave them, wrapped in the dignity of death.
Anastasia, are you feeling better today?
Yes, thank you. My cold is almost gone.
Dressed like that, you make the past come alive. But this is your grandmama's moment. Have confidence.
Yes, I can see why the others have believed, especially my romantic-minded nephew. The likeness is good enough for a waxwork gallery.
I haven't cared whether they recognized me or not. But you, don't you know me?
Where were you born?
Peterhof.
Child, no doubt of Emperor Nicholas II and Alexandria, his empress?
And grandchild of Maria Fyodorovna.
You have taken a long time in coming to comfort my bereavement.
I wrote you letters, but you never answered. Perhaps you never got them.
Oh, yes. I have received quite a few appeals from resurrected Romanovs. It seems the Bolshevik firing squads were very poor shots.
I started out to try and find you, only there were many days when I did not know who I was.
But now you do. You, at least, have accepted yourself. Tell me, how long have you been an actress?
As in your own case, Your Majesty, from earliest childhood.
Yes, to be a princess is to be an actress, but not necessarily a good one.
Perhaps I should have learned to be a better one, if the curtain hadn't fallen so early.
You're being flippant about a subject, which you must realize is, for me, a great personal sorrow.
Forgive me. I forgot for a moment you would be regarding the tragedy as more yours than mine. I'm trying to keep my courage, but you are making it very hard for me. I have been without love for so long.
Have there been no men in your life? I thought the story of your rescue included a Bolshevik guard who had fallen in love with you and who carried you from the shed where the bodies were awaiting burial.
Yes, he rescued me and took me to Romania, but he soon decided that a crazy girl was no great prize.
A rescue from the very edge of the grave. Years of lost memory in an asylum. Excellent material for melodrama.
Long, empty days in which the consciousness of living came only through pain. Hardly melodrama, Grandmama.
Did I give you permission to call me that name?
I'm sorry. It slipped out. I will try to guard my tongue.
You think my answer should be to grant you that privilege? A lonely old woman should be glad to hear someone call her grandmama.
Loneliness has been as bitter as yours.
You ask me for recognition, for love, and you do it well. Your eyes are moist, your voice full of feeling, but I can only reply that the love you beg for belongs to one who is dead. You have chosen to deck yourself in the robes of a specter, mademoiselle, and in so doing have managed to win endorsement from a few poor sentimentalists, dreamers, self-deceivers, but I am none of these things. The shell that was once my heart is not easily pierced.
You thrust me from you? I was told you would ask me difficult questions, but you are not interested enough to ask me any.
Oh, I was going to catechize you. Was I? That is what your business associates told you?
They mean nothing to me, these men, nor the millions about which they dream.
But they've told you about those millions.
Oh, they have told me.
And you did not say that a Romanoff may be butchered, but is not to be bought? That should have been your answer. For if your blood was truly Romanoff, you would not let yourself be made a cat's paw by Bunin and his crew.
Tell me to whom this money should be given, and I will give it. Then perhaps you will believe me.
Easily said. But you cannot give the money away until you have it, and you cannot get it without first obtaining my recognition.
Yes, you are hard. You are showing me your fighting face, the wounding words, barbed like arrows. I remember hearing Father say you were the toughest fighter the family has known since Peter the Great. That was at the time you and my mother quarreled over a necklace, some emeralds, part of the imperial treasure, but you wanted to keep them for your lifetime.
Who told you this? Oh, but there were plenty who must have known about it. Rasputin as a beginning. Alex aired all her grievances to him.
You wore them with your last court dress, the red velvet one with the long train.
Where did you see my portrait? Or did someone describe me?
It's strange. I only remember the large outlines or the little details.
It was the worst of our quarrels. The Winter Palace, my private rooms, the snow falling outside the double window panes. Alex had herself formally announced by one of the lackeys. Her Imperial Majesty thought she was going to awe me with a title that had been my own for many years. I was sitting by the fire with my jewel box on my knees, and after that pompous nonsense, I didn't even trouble to get up. I merely said, realize to I don't know why I am telling you all this.
My father took the side of my mother. They even brought in the chancellor. They were all lined up against you, but you kept Figgy's.
How did you learn to call the great Catherine Figgy?
He always called her that, and sometimes the same nickname to Marie because she had such an eye for the men. Olga used to tease her and...
Stop. I forbid it. I forbid you to bandy those names.
They're my sisters. I can speak of them if I choose.
Imposter.
You call me that?
Yes, and I want it stopped. If you have any decency, I demand that you end this masquerade. I will pay you, give you more than these blackguards will.
Go away. Leave me.
I'm offering you money.
Go away, please.
You're giving up, are you?
Oh, it wasn't enough to have suffered all that. The cellar, the asylum, the horror, the cruelty, the emptiness. It was also necessary that I should meet you again like this.
Excellent. The tragic scene of despair. You're forgetting nothing, are you?
How can anyone who has suffered so much have so little heart for suffering?
I am sorry, Mademoiselle, if your failure to win me over is such a cruel disappointment. Goodbye.
Don't go!
But you just told me to.
Not yet. I'll say nothing more to try and convince you.
Then what do you want of me?
Just a moment or two longer. Let me touch your dress. Put my hand for a moment in yours. Please, just a moment to hear your voice, to close my eyes and fancy we are on the terrace at Levadia with the smell of the sea and an echo of laughter from the tennis courts where Father and Olga were playing. You called me little one, Malenkaya. It was your own special name for me. You used it for no one else.
Are you ill?
Nothing serious.
But you have seen a doctor, a good one.
Oh, yeah. I am well acquainted with doctors. But it is kind of you to ask. And I am not, after all, surprised that you do not recognize me. I know I have changed very much indeed.
Let me go, please. I must go home.
What is strange is that you have altered so little. You still seem to me, as you did that day, that my finger was pinched in your carriage door and you told me to try not to cry because I was the daughter of the Tsar.
Let me go.
Look, it is still not quite straight, that finger. Can't you see the difference from the others?
You're too clever for me. I don't know how you know these things, but please, mademoiselle, I am an old woman and I have not the strength.
Very well. Go if you must. We have met once again after all the years, the only two left of our family.
I will come back. I will see you once again, mademoiselle, when my mind is clear. But now?
No. Perhaps you had better not come again. You are kind now, you have softened toward me, but later you will get your balance. You will say it was all acting. She is some sort of cheap little actress hired for money. And it is true, Grandmama, that they did hire me for money. I was starving after I ran away from the asylum. I had nowhere to go. I even went down the steps to the canal. Perhaps I should have not let him stop me.
Goodbye, mademoiselle.
Goodbye, dear Grandmama. I will try not to be lonely or frightened. Where I have said those words before. Oh, yes, I remember. It was on board the Standard. I had walked and found a storm raging, the big waves breaking against the hull, and I cried out, Grandmama! And you came to my cabin.
Malenkaya. Malenkaya, Malenkaya. I couldn't believe it at first. You've come from so far away, and I've waited so long for you. Don't cry. Just rest yourself and don't speak. You're warm, you are alive, that is enough. I can stand no more for now. Can't you hear how that weary old heart of mine is beating? I must go, but don't be afraid. I shall come back. I need you. No, let go of my dress. That is what you used to do as a child. Be sensible, Malenkaya. I'll go as I used to, speaking to you as I left the side of your little bed. We will go tomorrow, if you like, to my old palace in Finland. It is still there, and it is still mine. There's a very old man there, our lamplighter. Each night he goes from one room to another, lighting the empty lamps until for him, the great dark rooms are ablaze with light. The other servants take no notice. They realize that he is childish, and perhaps that is true of all of us. And we are lighting dead lamps to illumine the grandeur that is gone. Good night, Anastasia. If it should not be you, don't ever tell me.
She was magnificent. If the Empress... My God, what's happened?
Strain of the interview.
Как называется это место?
Listen!
Ekaterinburg? Ono oken krasvino ne pravadali?
Listen! She's speaking Russian!
Olga, Alexei, Tatiana, Marie, Gavi, Olga!
Curtain. Act 3. The scene is the same 3 weeks later. It is about 8 o'clock at night. A reception is to be held at which the investors in Bunine's syndicate are to be presented to Anastasia, and she, in turn, officially presented to the world. The lamps and chandelier are lighted, and there is a huge bowl of Russian lilies. The furnishings are augmented by a throne which is placed in front of the window, the curtains of which are drawn, thus furnishing it with a background. Chairs are grouped facing on the opposite side of the room, while on the other side of the throne are two important-looking chairs that are intended for the Dowager Empress and Prince Paul. Petrovin, attired in full evening dress, is putting some finishing touches on the room, trying the effect of a cushion placed on the throne. From off stage, we hear the voices of a Russian choir who are rehearsing in the ballroom. The rhythm is infectious, and holding a footstool as he surveys the throne, Petrovin does a couple of dance steps, then deposits the stool in front of the throne. Thus preoccupied, he does not see Bunin, who enters behind him. The leader of the conspiracy wears the dress uniform of a general of the Don Cossacks. His appearance is commandingly impressive. He stands in the doorway, surveying the room.
Good. Good. Not quite the Peterhof throne room, but since that is not available...
I've done my best with what I could find.
A throne? Where on earth did you get that?
Rented for the night.
Whom, may I ask?
The property department of the opera. It's from Boris Godunov.
Couldn't you have gotten Chaliapin as well?
Oh, I have nearly as good. A group of Russian singers from the St. Basil's Choir.
Yes, I heard them as I came in. Very effective.
There will be a stream of Glinka, Borodin, Grechnov, Russian hymns. By the time the presentation, they'll be drowning in their tears.
Russian lilies, too. The sentimentalists should be impressed.
They will be ushered into the ballroom when they arrive and entertained there until the moment comes for them to be presented.
There's plenty of champagne.
Of course, and vodka for the more violent patriots.
You'll be dealing with a mass of petty jealousies, so the seating arrangements...
I know. I've given Sergei his instructions. The generals and court dignitaries are to have the front seats. The uniform should make quite a show, despite the bald heads and the weak knees. Reds, light blues, yellows, and the gold and black of the Cossacks.
Quite an historical pageant. And seems only part of one's everyday life.
Have you seen this?
Where have you been?
What is it?
The Nachtosgabe.
Another one that veiled the text.
The veil is what they call vendors. They use the word.
They do they? I'll pay for that.
They say our so-called royal princess is a Russian working-class girl named Anya Brun. They say that she is self-deceived, not quite responsible, and that we imposed on her simplicity. They refer to her as our innocent victim.
Is that doctor friend of hers speaking?
Obviously.
The lame fellow? Why didn't we deal with him the day he came here?
Deal? How? He wasn't the guy.
I don't mean money. It would have been easy to fake an accident. He was hanging about outside for some time.
Whatever doubts may be raised by this article will mean nothing when weighed against the endorsement of the Empress.
Possibly not. If you could be sure the Empress is coming.
The croaker again.
He invites bad luck.
The bad luck came when you allowed Prince Paul to cart the girl off to Hareldeberg.
Allowed? How did I stop him? In the right as her fiancé.
He said the Empress insisted on having her with him.
You don't know what may have happened. What guarantee have we that even Anna will be here tonight?
One that is outstanding in the case of a woman. She has had 3 fittings for her dress that she is to wear.
Did the Empress accompany her to these?
No. The Wordswoman says that she was alone, but she came in the Empress's car.
I call that most reassuring. How is the dress?
A dream in white and gold. Wait until you see it.
And the tiara?
It's over there on the table. I kept it for you to pass on.
Yes, it looks quite impressive.
They're paste, of course, but good paste. They deceive any eye except the jewelers, and we have none of those among our guests.
Ah, our fortunes are turned, Piotr. You may still have a chance to fulfill your destiny as a painter.
And you will be able to restore your stable of racehorses. Not to mention your even more attractive stable of mistresses.
No, 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 no. I shall go to America. It's the only country left with a proper respect for wealth.
You're true Russians, both of you. Realities never bother you for long.
Excellency, Councillor Dribnitz would like to have a word with you.
Tell them to come in.
Have you seen this article?
Good evening, Councillor. You're early.
I am speaking of this paper, this article. It says your princesses...
I know what it says. It's the work of a Bolshevik agent.
General Martov phoned the newspaper office. They say they have proofs.
They have proofs manufactured in Moscow. The pitiful thing is that a group of white Russians, whose hearts and purses are both concerned, should be so blind as to not see through this attack.
Against this story, there stands the Romanov family.
Yes. And what do their proofs amount to when weighed against the endorsement of a royal fiancée, an imperial grandmother?
True, if they really are backing your claimant.
Of course they're backing her. And now, with that disposed of, let me tell you something of real importance. The Tsar's Swedish bankers will be here tonight.
What?
Oh, yes. I haven't told you, have I? Councillor Krefting and Count Stromberg.
Really? The heads of the Svenka Handel Bank?
Oh, wonderful.
What if they read this article?
That wouldn't affect them. They're most favorably disposed towards us. I've spent an hour with them in their suite at the Adlon. The old Danish empress still carries weight in Scandinavia, and the romance of the United Sweethearts, as the Count remarked, is a page out of Hans Christian Andersen.
You must admit, sir, the Prince Bulnine has managed things very well.
I will go back and stop General Martov from upsetting any more people. That reminds me, I am having trouble over the order of presentation. There is some dispute as to whether precedents should be governed by rank or by the amount each one has subscribed to the fund.
Is that your list? Give it to me and I will look it over and advise you.
Pardon, Excellency. Her Imperial Highness is here.
Here? Alone?
She came in through the garden entrance.
Quite right. Otherwise she might have met some of our guests prematurely. Tell Her Highness I wish to speak with her.
And the Empress?
Her Majesty will be coming later.
I suppose the choir will start the anthem when she arrives.
The choir has their instructions.
Yes, of course.
Why did she come alone? I thought they would all arrive together.
It's just as well. This gives us a chance to find out what I've been hoping we'd have a chance to find out.
You wish to speak with me?
Ah, yes. Good evening, Anna. You showed good judgment in coming here on ahead of the others. There are matters to discuss.
Oh?
This is an important night.
The night of nights.
The night I am to be presented to my people.
Did you make any slips while you were staying at Haraldenburg?
Slips?
Mistakes, blunders.
I'm afraid I can't say. I was ill, in a delirium.
You might have said anything?
Yes, anything.
But nothing that could have shaken their faith in you.
I really don't know.
But the Empress is coming here to support you.
I can only repeat, I don't know.
But my God, you can't say a thing like that as if it were a matter of no importance. Without her, we are lost.
Surely there must have been some indication. How was she dressed?
Tonight, as always, faultlessly.
And jewels?
No, she was wearing no jewels.
Ah, your complacence is maddening. I don't know if you still believe her, Anastasia, but if the Empress doesn't come, you'll be alone in that idea.
There has been an attack in one of the evening papers.
Yes, I saw it. The Empress showed it to me.
She showed it to you?
What did she say?
Nothing. She merely watched my face as I read it.
But her attitude toward you, tell us of that.
Her Majesty has shown me great kindness. Owing to her care, I am quite well again.
Well, that is encouraging.
No, she is bound to come. There's her nephew's future to consider. We're getting alarmed over nothing.
And the prince will be here, of course.
Yes, I think you can count on the prince.
Though he may not be enough. I told you that before. They may say it's the money he's after and that you are only a means of getting it.
Yes, I can imagine many people will think that.
Wait. This is the tiara you are to wear. You must do everything to bolster your self-confidence, so I suggest that you think of it as genuine.
Genuine? Here?
On your dressing table, you will find a list of the most important people whom you will meet tonight, and with some personal details jotted against their names. I know you have a photographic memory. Here's the tiara. Take it. Now go.
You do not say now go to the Tsarina of Russia.
Pardon. Your Majesty.
You speak of my memory. How good is your memory, I wonder?
What do you mean?
It was a lovely autumn morning at Krasnoy. There was a riding contest and Marie and I were taking part in it. We both had Irish hunters given us on our birthdays. You helped me mount and, holding my hand, said something too personal. I raised my riding whip. Was it I? If not, how did I learn it? Not from your books. And you, the artist, you saw two candle flames reflected in my eyes, standing in a dark church in front of the icons. And lying beneath the icons was a bunch of wildflowers that some poor person had placed there.
It's true.
Our Russian yellow lilies and some blue flowers.
Yellow and blue. Who could have told you? Did I speak of it?
Perhaps you did. You must try and remember.
Blue and yellow. No one could have told her. No one!
It's impossible. Yet, how did she know?
The Empress told her, reminding her of things the real Anastasia had repeated.
Of course.
Well, that explanation may satisfy you. It does not me.
You're a fool. It must be that.
Let him have his dreams.
Our argument before was that she couldn't speak Russian. Well, she can speak Russian. We know that now.
Her Imperial Majesty.
My God.
Ah, the entire syndicate. I think you'd better give me my smelling bottle, Lidenbaum.
May I offer that as my excuse for not being at the door?
Save your apologies. Pomp without power only makes deposed royalty ridiculous. Is the lady here?
In her room. People are arriving. Go.
Yes, Excellency.
You too, Chernov.
Yes, Excellency.
I see you schooled your associates in the old traditions. Your overbearing manner is quite impressive.
Rented for this evening's performance.
Oh. And is it your idea to present a Romanov on a hired throne and one, unless I am mistaken, made of papier-mâché?
May I remind Your Majesty that the realities are now in a museum?
True. And our actual state robes are to be seen in London at Madame Trussard's.
I trust Her Highness will soon be able to provide herself with more suitable furnishings.
You are thinking of my son's foreign deposits? I understand you have caused the lady to sign certain documents concerning these monies, their handling and division.
I admit the share we asked Her Highness to assign us sounds like rather a large sum, but my two associates and I have taken a great deal of
A
trouble.
great deal of trouble indeed. The impertinence. Oh, did you speak?
Such a lot of old friends arriving. Do you think they're still alive?
Only half alive, most of them.
Countess Lovskaya? May I go and embrace her?
I assume Your Majesty's attitude that the prince has told you certain things.
She told me nothing deliberately. But the night my nephew brought her to me, I sat by her bed for many hours.
He was in a delirium.
Yes, a delirium whose fires were very illuminating. The monstrous shapes of nightmare, trembling hopes, black despairs, wavering footsteps that led to a canal.
No.
A canal where a poor broken creature met a cynical brute who bargained with her in the coinage of food and shelter.
I see. Your Majesty
Everything.
knows.
Everything. The whole dirty fraud.
Fraud, Your Majesty.
Yes, you planned a fraud, didn't you? What else do you call it?
Surely, Your Majesty, if my friends and I made an error in believing this girl's story, we can hardly be blamed. You yourself accepted her as genuine.
Just what I expected. As soon as you see that your Drotsky is being overtaken, you throw your lady passenger to the wolves.
I assure Your Majesty, it is she who said that she was the Tsar's daughter. I was merely asked my opinion as to the truth of the claim.
And your nimble brain saw at once that here was a splendid chance for exploitation.
Please, Your Majesty, my two friends and I endorsed an illusion. I am sure the girl believes herself to be your granddaughter.
Undoubtedly. And I have not come to denounce her. You can make of that what you will.
I am deeply grateful. Might I hope that Your Majesty would extend her benevolence a little farther?
Ah, you want my public acknowledgement.
Think of your nephew. He will share in the Tsar's millions, millions that may otherwise pass to your son's murderers.
Very cleverly put.
As to her, if you believed for a time, what harm is there in making others believe?
So, you ask for my support whether I believe or not. You invite me, Maria Feodorovna, Dowager Empress of Russia, to be one with you and your friends. But what else would you expect from the author of this brazen conspiracy? Kings and queens are nothing but names. Know well, I know it. A museum for our symbols of power, a Madame Tussauds for our clothes. And it is so easy to get rid of us. A bomb or a plebiscite does it. But you've made one mistake, Brunei. There is a tradition that is in our blood, at once our royal burden and our royal birthright. We have pride, not in our position, but in our behavior.
Without Your Majesty's help, I fear. I greatly fear.
The audience is over. I am finished with you, Arkadievich Bunan.
Ah, here you are. And how are you, my dear grandaunt?
Feeling better, thank you.
I glanced in the ballroom as I passed by. Where on earth did they dig up all those diamond dog collars? Those jeweled kokonshiks. It's like a medieval danse macabre, revived by Stanislavski. Is anything wrong?
I'm afraid so. It seems Her Majesty is refusing us her support.
But that is impossible. I'm convinced she has no doubts regarding Her Highness. And her whole attitude, she displays real devotion.
Then perhaps you may still be able to persuade her. I had better keep out of it.
I sincerely hope I can. Your friend Chernov was just telling me we are to have 2 important visitors.
Yes, it is chiefly because of them. I have just had a thought. The coming marriage made a deep impression on these Swedish gentlemen. If you could decide on the marriage date and make an announcement.
Tonight, you mean?
Yes.
And you think the effect? Yes, I see.
What of Easter? Our Russian Easter. It must be in about 7 or 8 weeks.
An excellent thought. Anastasia, you look wonderful, doesn't she, Bunine?
Superb. And those jewels.
You were going to ask if they were also supplied by your window dresser. No, they are surprisingly real. The gift of my grandmother.
She gave them to you.
Yes, but I came to tell you she would like to have a word with you when you are free.
There is an important matter that I wish to discuss with you.
Presently. I have been taught you must not keep royalty waiting.
Very well. But I hear she is in a difficult mood.
He is ready to marry you. He wants to announce the date tonight.
And am I to have nothing to say about it?
Oh, he'll ask for your approval.
Which I must give without question?
Go on. Sit there. Let me see the Galatea that I have fashioned out of the mud of the Lanvia Canal. Magnificent. It's too bad you gave the game away. The Empress knows you are not Anastasia.
Really?
But she hasn't come here to denounce you. She told me definitely.
That's kind of her.
One thing I can't understand. Why did she give you those jewels?
Strange, isn't it?
You hate me, don't you?
You hate people as you love them, because they matter to you. I don't hate you, Prince Bunine.
I see. Sublime indifference. That's very grateful of Anya Bronin. Ah, well. Before we're finished with each other, that may change.
I'm sorry, you can't go in there. There are rooms of, these are the rooms of the imperial family.
It's all right, Baroness. This gentleman is a friend of mine.
I'm sorry, Your Highness, since he's not properly dressed, I thought.
Thank you, Baroness. Come in, Dr. Srensky.
Oh, a doctor.
I think y'all are muted.
How lovely you look, and how well.
How did you get in here, Michael?
There was no one to stop me. It seems Bonin and his friends are fully occupied in the ballroom.
Why are you staying on in Berlin, away from your work, if it is only to beg me to go back with you?
I am not going back to Bucharest. I have made up my mind up to that in the past few days.
Is that because of me?
No, even without you, I shall not go back. I must go to a country where the individual is not degraded, where I can be free to work as I will.
I'm glad. You have so much to give the world.
It will not be simple to go where no one knows you. I do not make friends easily.
So would you like to take me with you?
I did not come here to speak of my wants. I am afraid for you. Here in the hands of these men, they would stop at nothing.
All they plan is to marry me to a prince and get their hands on my father's millions.
Your father?
The Tsar.
You still believe it, don't you? These men have told you your agreement is true and you believe it.
They did not need to tell me. I know the truth myself.
Anya, I cannot bear to see you self-deluded. In Bucharest, where you would tell your wonderful fantasies, it didn't matter, but here...
I told you things that didn't happen because I dared not remember what I did. But I have faced it now, Michael, to the last horror, to the death of each of those I loved.
Dreams, Anya, dreams.
Do you know why I ran away from you because you talked as you are talking now. You made me unsure. When you spoke with such conviction, I could say to myself, perhaps Michael is right. Perhaps there was a factory explosion in which my head was injured.
There was. I remember when it happened.
It was the day we arrived in Bucharest. Tchaikovsky saw it as a likely excuse to get rid of me and took me to the hospital with the story that I was one of the factory workers. There, he and his brothers went off with what remained of the jewels.
You told me yourself how the mists would rise about you and everything would become unreal.
Yes, and I would be lost. Not knowing who I was or from where I had come, it's a terrible feeling. I shudder now when I think of it.
Anya.
No, you need not pity me anymore. The mists are gone forever.
And you've awakened to find yourself a royal princess.
You must understand that it never mattered whether or not I was a princess. It only matters that I am I, that someone, if it be only me, has held out their arms to welcome me back from death.
And someone has?
Yes, someone has.
This prince you spoke of.
Prince Paul, he was my childhood sweetheart.
So you will have everything, wealth, position, beautiful surroundings, a sleek, luxurious existence. What could I offer you in exchange? A struggle. But a struggle is life, Anya. To live is not merely to breathe, it is to act.
Go on, Michael. Lecture me like you used to. I can fancy I am back in your office, smelling the carbolic and looking at the sign on your desk. To do nothing is to be nothing.
Those days are gone, Anya. Now we are parting, and probably for the last time.
The last time. How sad those words are.
All I want is to be sure you are safe and happy.
If we're parting, Michael.
I have good news. Who is this gentleman?
Ah, Paul, this is Dr. Michael Serensky.
Are you one of the guests?
He is one of my guests.
I see.
Where are you going?
To tell Bunine that my aunt is giving us her support.
I want you and everyone to know that Dr. Serensky is under my protection. He is to stay or go as he pleases. Those are my orders.
Very well. I will tell them.
Thank you, but it is not necessary. I am going now. Perhaps, after all, it is I who have lived with an illusion, a fond illusion named Anya.
Wait, Michael. Go out this way. It will be safer. Down the stairs to the left and out through the garden.
Thank you, Imperial Highness.
No, you must not call me that, even if you should someday believe it.
Do svidania.
Do svidania.
Who is he?
The sweetheart of a girl named Anya Bronin.
Anya Bronin? Isn't that the name?
In the paper tonight, it says that is my name. Supposing it were, would you still love me?
But it isn't.
Bunine says that you wish to make an announcement tonight of our marriage date.
He should have left that to me. But if you are agreeable.
You feel it will impress the bankers.
That is one thing, but the other.
Yes, I can.
The other, yeah.
It is a convincing touch. No one would suppose that you would marry a woman who claimed to be your lost sweetheart unless you were quite sure.
You know, you have completely satisfied me.
And we can make good the promise of our boy and girl betrothal, the ceremony on the Chinese island.
Ah, I thought you would be bound to speak of it, and you have. You've mentioned it at last.
That was to be your final proof, was it?
It was a secret between us and your three sisters. No one living could have told you of it because no one knew.
No. You yourself told me the day you brought up the Empress to see me. You spoke of it to her. I was standing behind those curtains listening, trying to muster the courage to come in.
My God, what are you saying? And why? Do you want me to believe that this is all a trick?
But it is tricks that you have asked for, tricks of remembrance. You could find nothing of personality, nothing of character by which to identify me. Animals know their kind by scent, but it seems I am not endowed with the rare odor of the Romanovs.
You're wrong. I recognized you almost at once, and by instinct, if you want to call it that. These tricks are merely proofs that I need for those who may still have doubts.
Such as the bankers.
All right, the bankers.
Well, supposing there were no bankers, no, would you still be as sure that I am the girl to whom you pledge your love?
Of course I would.
Now it is I who ask for proofs. I suggest that we marry with no reference to bankers or bank accounts, that we make no claim for this money, that we work for our living, both of us.
But why? Why should we?
You don't like the idea?
It makes no sense. Why be poor when you can as easily be rich?
Poor people have one advantage. When they are loved, they know it is for themselves.
I refuse to take that remark seriously.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid your heart belongs to a little girl who is dead. I may be your childhood, but I am not your love.
If I love my childhood, it is because you were a part of it.
And now you would like to have it back, only with different toys.
Our life can once again be gay and charming. But now we must act. This is the moment of crisis.
True. Crisis for the Bunine enterprise, but also a crisis for me. I hoped you would help me solve it, and I think you have.
You're talking in riddles, but you're very sweet.
Well, I have had my half hour alone with my thoughts. It is what my husband always insisted on before he would render a decision.
The decision has made me, and I hope Anastasia, very happy. And now I will go and tell the others the good news.
The others? Bunine? But much as I hate giving that scoundrel my support, there could be no question of my deserting you.
I know that.
So, if you want these millions, this high position, this royal marriage.
The one thing in it all that I would want is you.
That you already have. Listen, they are starting the music. You must be getting ready for your audience.
In my crown of paste.
You should be wearing Figgy's emeralds. Look, I will take them off.
No, never.
No, they are yours by right.
You have already given me so much. My sanity, my desire to live.
Very well, but now you must go and get ready. I shall sit by your side when you receive them. I had a struggle with my silly pride, but it is put away in my pocket.
No, keep your pride. Dear, dear Queen Grandmama.
That is what you used to call me. Now it is only Grandmama.
If there had never been a queen before, my darling, I would have had to call you one.
What will happen after tonight? You will not go on here with these men.
No, that is finished. The life they would have me lead, surrounded by that pathetic band of exiles. I couldn't do it. Listen to that music. The past, always the past.
The past was strangely beautiful. Our past.
Yes, the figures move gaily, charmingly. They laugh, they sing, and they dance. They make jokes, but behind them hangs a painted backdrop, a cellar in Ekaterinburg.
I have tried to live as if that horror had never happened. I have places set at the table for my dear ones and talk to them as if they were there. Take that chair, Nicky, and he takes it. 3 lumps, Tatiana. You'll get fat if you eat too many sweets, and then the English prince won't want to marry you. Livenbaum thinks I'm mad.
No one can blame you for living with your dear phantoms, but so much of my life, even from the beginning, has been spent in a shadow world. Now I want to live, I want to work, and who knows, it may be that I shall find the things out of which other women make their happiness.
Oh dear, there are tears in my eyes.
It was the music.
Was it?
I should like to put my arms around you and cry with you, but I remember what you told me when I crushed my finger. Princesses must never be seen to weep.
True, true. Ah, there's the anthem.
Does it mean anything anymore?
It still sets my blood tingling as it did when the imperial bands played it in the square outside the Winter Palace.
I remember.
God preserve our noble empress.
Voices are chanting at the Credo. The left-hand door opens and Livenbaum steps in. The door closes behind her.
It's wonderful, glorious. Prince Paul has told him that you endorse Her Highness, and they are all at fever heat.
Your brooch is undone.
Oh, is it? Thank you. Prince Benign is having difficulty holding them back. They want to come storming in here.
It's a complete triumph. They're all laughing and crying.
Yes, the opposers are beaten, and the doubt is silenced.
All the doubters? Does that include yourself, Brunine?
Isn't Anastasia ready? They are clamoring to see her.
She is in her room.
We must ask her not to delay.
Yes, now is the moment when the enthusiasm is at its height. Baya! Baya!
Yes, Excellency?
Why aren't you in there with Her Highness?
Her Highness said she would ring if she wanted me.
Well, hurry. Go tell her we are waiting.
May I see if I can help?
If you like.
And now, my dear aunt, shall we take our place? I hope all this excitement won't prove too tiring for you.
Wonderful news. The Swedish bankers are ready to accept Her Highness's claim without further question.
Splendid.
London can't hold back after that. My God! What's happened?
She's gone.
Gone?
Gone where?
I knew it. She didn't tell me, but I knew it.
Where has she gone? Does your Majesty know?
It will do no good to go after her. She won't come back.
Why has she done this? What is it she wants?
To find life, her real life.
Why? I don't understand. That man who was here just now, that doctor.
Perhaps. I don't know.
She has gone. I'll phone the police and have her stopped. If you will say she is suffering from a mental derangement.
Yes, it's in our hands now.
Your word will be enough. You are her fiancé.
Well, Paul, are you willing to say that she is insane?
No.
There are 10 million pounds at stake. 10 million.
I said no.
The royal tradition has beaten you, Bunan. I had a feeling that it would.
The royal tradition. The mad Romanovs.
Well, I'm going home. You wanted her as she was? Keep her as she was? A yellowing photograph of a girl in a white dress waving goodbye from the bridge of the Chinese island. Come, Livenbaum.
Curtain. Yay.
Yay.
Very nice, everybody. That was good.
That literally brought tears to my eyes the whole time. I was riveted.
You know who she runs off with at the end of the movie, don't you?
It's
my eyes are tearing, but I got something in my eye. It's not.
Sure, Bernie.
It's not that at all. I'm doing the John Biner thing. You remember the comedian John Biner?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
guys don't cry at movies. They're just like. I think this place should be done someplace.
Someplace.
Yeah.
Sometime.
At some time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some year.
When we're allowed to again.
And set wise, it's not a big deal. It's just all the trappings. So, a costume designer would have a lot of fun with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Someone would have to paint that lifestyle's portrait.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Well, yeah, that's not so hard to do.
Yeah.
Now, you get some, you take a photograph and you just run it through some app and make it look like a painting.
Gary will just make somebody stand up against like a canvas and he'll just trace it.
No, Paul Keim will come in and in an hour and a half he'll have it done.
Oh my God, yes, amazing.
Was that from a movie version of it?
No, that's the play.
Yeah.
Was it produced like a long, long time ago?
I don't know.
Well,
Ingrid
the
Bergman.
French play. I mean, they made a movie out of it, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
I thought this was the Ingrid Bergman script. It wasn't?
No, this is a translation of a French play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this is the same play that the movie is based on, but they changed it to the movie.
They never change anything for movies.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, they have production information at the beginning of the script. It was done in 1954, and Viveka Linfors played Anna.
Viveka Linfors, yeah.
Vivica.
Viveka Linfors.
Vivica, yeah.
How did it end, Marty, in the movie? How did it end in the movie, Marty?
He runs off with Bunyan.
Nah, I don't think so.
Oh.
Played by Yul Brynner. Who else is she going to run off with? She wasn't going to run off with a Kim Tamirov.
With a charwoman.
Charwoman, yeah. The Prince Paul in the movie, they made him seem like a real kind of like stiff, kind of like, he was just after the money, very obviously in the movie. So, and after all, like with all the head bumping with Bunyan, which is not really played up that much in the movie, in the play. Not the way we did it anyway. After all that, they fall in love.
Interesting.
2.5 hour meet cute.
Well, thank you.